The wind howled through Black Hollow, as if the town itself was crying out in its sleep. I stood by the window in my apartment, staring out into the darkness that seemed to have settled over the town like a thick blanket. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a pale, ghostly glow over the narrow streets. I had been living here for months, and while the town was quiet, there was something unsettling about it, a presence that seemed to hang in the air. But it wasn't just the town that unsettled me, it was the whispers. At first I thought it was my imagination, the wind carrying strange sounds maybe. But then the whispers became clear. "Emily, come to the forest." I froze. My blood ran cold. It wasn't the wind this time. This was something else. The voice, my name, it echoed in my mind, too real, too tangible to ignore. I had heard the stories. Everyone in town had. The whispers spoke of the whispering forest, deep in the woods, a place where people had gone missing over the years, swallowed by the trees, never to be found. They said the forest called to those who ventured too far, like a dark, ancient force that lured them to their doom. But it couldn't be real, right? I was an adult. I had to be logical. And yet the whispers grew louder, more insistent. "Come to the forest, Emily." There was no turning back. Something inside me, something deep, pulled me toward that forest. It wasn't curiosity. It was an undeniable compulsion. Without a second thought, I grabbed my jacket and stepped out into the chilling night. The streets were empty, as they always were, but tonight the silence felt different. The night felt alive, as though the darkness itself was watching me. The moment I left the safety of the streetlights and stepped into the outskirts of the forest, I felt a shift. The air turned colder, thicker, as though I had crossed some invisible boundary. The trees around me were tall, their gnarled branches twisting and reaching like arms trying to grab hold of me. The moonlight barely pierced the canopy, casting everything into a deep, shadowy gloom. The whispers were louder now, echoing through the trees. But it wasn't just one voice. It was many, layered like a chorus of unseen creatures, their words indistinguishable, yet undeniably calling to me. "Emily, come deeper." I looked back, but the town was already fading, swallowed by the vastness of the forest. There was no turning back now. I was drawn in, step by step, my feet moving as if they were guided by some unseen force. Every footstep felt like it was taking me farther away from the world I knew and closer to something ancient, something waiting. The path wound through the trees, but I didn't recognize it. The forest didn't look the same as it had the day before. It felt older, darker, as though it had been waiting for me to arrive. Then I saw it, a narrow trail veering off the main path. The ground was uneven, covered in thick moss, and the air smelled of damp earth and decay. But the whispers, they came from that direction, urging me to follow. So I did. The path seemed endless, twisting and turning through the forest. I couldn't remember how long I had been walking. Time felt suspended. Every turn felt like it was leading me deeper into the heart of the forest, where the trees pressed in on all sides, suffocating the space. And then, as if by fate, I stumbled upon a clearing. The moment I stepped into it, everything changed. The air was still, unnaturally still, and the ground beneath me felt wrong. I looked around. In the center of the clearing stood an altar, ancient, covered in thick layers of moss. The stone was worn, its edges chipped, but the symbols carved into it were unlike anything I had ever seen. They twisted and curled, forming shapes I couldn't comprehend. I felt my breath catch in my throat. This wasn't just any altar, it was a ritualistic site. The whispers grew louder, swirling around me, but I couldn't make out the words. They were calling, but what did it mean? As I took a step closer, I noticed something strange. A fresh trail of footprints leading to the altar. The dirt was still disturbed. Someone or something had been here recently. My heart skipped a beat. My gut told me to run,
but something deeper inside me urged me to stay. Emily, the voice was close now. Too close. I turned.
There, standing at the edge of the clearing, was a figure. It was tall, obscured by the darkness, but I could see its glowing eyes staring directly at me. It didn't move. It just watched. I wanted to scream, to run, but my body didn't obey. The figure stepped forward, closer. Its movements were slow, deliberate, as if it had all the time in the world. I couldn't breathe. "Come closer," it whispered, and my feet moved on their own, dragging me forward. It was as if the forest itself had claimed my body. My feet carried me forward, step by step, toward the figure, my mind screaming at me to stop, but my body refused to listen. The figure finally stepped into the moonlight, and I could see it clearly now. It was tall, unnaturally tall, and its body was cloaked in shadow, its face obscured by darkness. But its eyes, those eyes, they glowed with an otherworldly light, piercing through the night like two burning embers. It spoke again, its voice cold, deep, and full of malevolent power. "You shouldn't have come, Emily." I wanted to speak, to ask what it wanted, but my throat was dry and I couldn't find my voice. The figure reached out a long skeletal hand, and I could feel the cold emanating from it. My body trembled in fear, but still I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, trapped in the grip of its gaze. It reached closer, closer. "Do you understand now?" it whispered. "You've been chosen. The forest calls you, and you will stay." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But I couldn't move. The shadows around me seemed to grow darker, suffocating. The whispers grew louder, more urgent. My heart raced, and panic began to claw at my chest. I needed to get out, but there was no way out. The forest had already taken me. "You think you can leave?" The figure's voice grew darker, colder. "You are here now, Emily. You belong to us." I felt the ground tremble beneath me, and the trees around me seemed to lean in, their gnarled branches reaching out like fingers. I was surrounded by darkness, by the weight of the forest, and the shadows seemed to close in on me, pressing against my body. The figure's eyes bore into mine, and I felt a presence, something ancient, something far older than the trees themselves, moving around me, through me. "You have a choice," the figure whispered. "Embrace what we offer and become one with the forest, or leave and never speak of this again." But I knew, deep down, there was no leaving. Vamos continuar a história com a mesma tensão crescente, explorando ainda mais a conexão de Emily com a floresta e o que está por vir. The ground beneath me seemed to pulse, as if the very earth was alive, vibrating with an energy I couldn't understand. I tried to move, to break free from the figure's grip, but my body felt heavy, like I was sinking into the soil itself. The whispers continued to circle me, their voices overlapping, becoming louder and more urgent. "Emily, you're ours now," they said in unison. "You have been chosen." I wanted to scream, to fight against the weight of the forest pressing in on me, but my throat felt tight, my words trapped behind a veil of fear and dread. The figure in front of me took another step forward, its eyes burning brighter, its form growing darker, more imposing. I could feel it. The forest was claiming me. It was pulling me into its depths. The wind howled around us, the trees creaking, their limbs twisting like the hands of an ancient beast. And I realized something terrifying. The forest wasn't just a place. It was alive, and it wanted me. "You will be part of us now," the figure murmured, its voice like the rustling of leaves in a storm. "You will see the things that others cannot, the ancient secrets, the truths buried beneath the roots." The ground shook again, and I felt the roots rise up around me, wrapping around my legs, my waist, pulling me deeper into the earth. They weren't just roots, they were alive, twisting like serpents, tightening around me until I could barely breathe. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, and then everything went dark. When the darkness finally cleared, I wasn't in the clearing anymore. I was in another place, somewhere deep within the forest. The air was thick with fog, and the trees stretched out in every direction, their twisted trunks reaching toward the sky like sentient beings. The forest felt endless, its boundaries beyond comprehension. I wasn't alone. All around me, there were figures, shadowy, translucent beings, drifting in and out of sight. They were like ghosts, but they weren't entirely dead. Their eyes glowed faintly, and I could see the fear in their faces, their mouths moving as though they were speaking, but no sound came out. I realized then, these were the lost ones, the people who had disappeared into the forest before me, their souls trapped here, bound to the earth forever. Their eyes met mine, pleading, but their voices were nothing but whispers in the wind. I tried to call out to them, to ask them how to escape, but no words came. I was speechless, trapped in this strange, half-real place, surrounded by souls who had been consumed by the forest, just as I was being consumed now. And then I saw her, my great aunt. She was standing in the distance, her figure pale and faint, but I knew it was her. The same woman who had vanished years ago, whose disappearance had been the center of the town's rumors. The same woman whose face had haunted me every night in my dreams. "Emily, you have come," she whispered, her voice soft but distant. "You will join us, like the others. The forest takes us all in the end." I reached out to her, desperate, but before I could get closer, the figure that had been watching me earlier appeared, standing at the edge of the mist. It was taller now, more solid, its eyes glowing brighter than ever before. "You see now, Emily," the figure said. "This is the price."
This is what you will become, one with the forest, one with us. I wanted to scream, I wanted to run, but the forest wouldn't let me. The roots, the trees, the very ground beneath me, they were all pulling me in, wrapping me in their suffocating grip. The whispering figures around me grew louder. Their voices overlapped, creating a cacophony of sound that filled my mind. The figures, the lost ones, began to close in on me, their eyes wide with fear, with longing. They had accepted their fate, but I hadn't, not yet. "Join us, Emily," my great aunt's voice echoed, though she was still far away. "The forest will give you power, knowledge, but at a price." I felt it then, the weight of the choice. The forest wanted me, it had claimed me, but I didn't have to surrender to it. I could fight it, but what would be left of me if I did? The figure stepped forward, its eyes burning bright. It wasn't just a creature, it was the forest itself. It was the embodiment of everything that lived here, every tree, every shadow, every whisper that had ever called to someone. "You have a choice," it whispered. "Accept the gift and become part of the forest forever, or leave. But know this, the forest will never let you go. It will always call to you." I wanted to run, I wanted to escape, but something deep inside me told me that I couldn't. I was already part of it. But the question remained, would I fight to keep what was left of myself?
Or would I surrender, as all the others had before me? I stood at the crossroads, the decision weighing heavily on me. The whispers, the figures, the forest, it was all too much to bear. My breath was shallow, my legs unsteady. The figure, now towering over me, seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy, like it was one with the very forest itself. "Make your choice, Emily," it murmured, its voice echoing in my mind. I could feel the forest closing in around me, the shadows pressing down on me, as if it had already claimed me. I had heard the stories, but now I understood. The forest wasn't just a place,
It was a living, breathing entity, and it fed on the souls of those who wandered too far into its depths. I looked around at the figures, the lost souls of the past. My great-aunt's pale face staring at me with longing, her eyes filled with a silent plea. They had all chosen to stay. They had surrendered. And now the choice was mine. The figure's eyes burned into mine, its voice now like the beating of my own heart. "You have already taken the first step, Emily," it whispered. "Now you belong to us. You cannot leave. You will be part of us forever." The words rang in my ears like a death sentence, and in that moment I realized the truth. The forest wasn't a place to be escaped from. It was a part of me now, and it would never let me go. No matter where I went, no matter how far I ran, the whispers would follow.
The forest would always be there, calling me, beckoning me to return. The trees around me shifted, their roots pulling tighter, wrapping around my legs, my body, until I felt like I was one with the earth itself. The figure stepped back, its shadow stretching across the clearing, and I knew then that it had already won. There was no escape. There was no fighting it. I had become part of the forest, and the forest would never let me go.